been assaulted by two big black dotted cats, like two cheetah or leopards, in the middle of a replicated savannah with other animals popping out through the many trapdoors in the middle of the arena. Must have been such a show. Or a big striped cat, like a tiger, lurking in the middle of a jungle replicated by, palm trees. Well, kind of. Actually, this system was intended especially to improve logistics, we could say, to make sure all the shows go on pretty smoothly. And actually, it was intended specifically for the fightings involving wild animals, because as you can imagine, gladiators did not necessarily require to access this underground level to access the building. Actually, you were expected to access it when you see those people at the ground level, just in front of us, through the main western gate. Even though, I must be honest, here we are also the beginning of a long underground tunnel ahead in that direction. Sorry, I'm practicing a little bit of anatomy and a draw, so yawn. Anyway, apart from that, well, actually, that tunnel was intended to connect this building to a facility on the eastern side of the valley where the gladiators were housed when they arrived in Rome a few days before the one they were supposed to perform, so that they could have accessed the building just a few seconds before the shows in order to appear in the middle of the arena completely unseen, to create a kind of a surprise effect, but also for what we call today matters of national security, of order, because especially famous gladiators were real superstars, they were real idols. You should imagine that actually when they paraded throughout the city before the shows, they were literally touched, they were hugged, they were kissed. Selfies were not such an option, but and also plenty of times even married women ran away with them, leaving their families behind. And actually, when something like that took place in Rome, with a matron, there was even a wealthy married woman that ran away with a gladiator she fell in love with, having a love adventure all the way down to Egypt. There was even a pun going around the city of Rome, something like Ferrum est quod amant, that we can translate in English, something like, of gladiators, it's the steel women fall in love with. Don't ask me to explain. And so, yes, basically gladiators rarely were intended to access this underground level, but they were supposed to get over there, or famous gladiators to access it, like famous sportsmen, like think of Cristiano Ronaldo, Roger Federer, Francesco Totti, the 8th king of Rome. First movement to contain, guess what, fake warships that were left to flow towards the middle of the underground when all of this was flooded with fresh water, staging the yes, nowadays yes, you should imagine first of all of this. Consisting there of just wood. Wooden pillars, literally a forest of wooden pillars and rafters that were supposed to bear the weight of the massive wooden platform of the arena above, but planned in such a way that it could be easily taken down when all the area was allegedly and supposedly flooded with fresh water for staging the battles. As I said, this is actually rather controversial, because at the moment we haven't got any proof left, apart from being mentioned by one ancient author only. First of all, we haven't got any sort of waterproof facing that would have made all this area completely watertight, nor such a water supply system capable of pumping in, such a huge amount of fresh water in such an incredibly short amount of time. Has been estimated it would have taken almost 2 weeks to fill all these areas up to the brim. Clearly, not enough for the pretty tight schedule of the shows taking place inside this building. And also because of another reason. Because during the heyday of the empire, in Rome, there was another building in the districts Yeah, I don't know if you enjoyed it. I pretty much love it. Trastevere at the end of the Tiber River. Actually, there was a building that was even larger than the Colosseum and consisted of a massive basin in the middle that was supplied by the water of the Tiber River in order to stage naval battles inside. Has been estimated could have contained up to 50 warships, or you should imagine hundreds of slaves and low-profile gladiators were sent to row inside, basically to die. So as far as this building is concerned, it was intended when it was first planned to stage only fightings involving wild animals and gladiators. Okay? Actually, what you see today is what remains of a later refurbishment plan of work the building experienced a couple of centuries later, after it was first opened, when all the wood was replaced by brickwork and tufa blocks, and along these pretty narrow galleries were set even more elevators. There's been estimated up to 60 of them, working smaller, but working all the time, all the way around. Elevators compared to the last ones we have seen, because in this case would have been 10 larger wooden open platform, 10 in a sequence, that through inclined ramps were supposed to bring up to the arena level people together, all sorts of stuff, machines and scenery that was intended for the shows. At this point you can wonder though, why such a fuss to have just two lions fighting each other, two animals? Wouldn't have been too much expensive, so many people involved, so many machines? Because, you know, when the shows took place in the middle of the arena, the fightings involving wild animals, there was not just sand covering the wooden platform of it, but there were even replicated fake landscapes in order to make the shows all the more realistic, with real trees, for example, that were transplanted and planted all the way in. So you can imagine how exciting it must have been for our citizens of Rome accessing for the first time this monster inside, experiencing a weird long-necked animal like a
What's a weird long?
A giraffe, yeah, being assaulted by two big black dotted cats, like two cheetah or leopards, in the middle of a replicated savannah with other animals popping out through the many trapdoors in the middle of the arena. Must have been such a show. Or a big striped cat, like a tiger, lurking in the middle of a jungle replicated by, palm trees, or even a monstrous lizard, like a
dinosaur?
A crocodile. Well, really, in the middle of a pond. Even though, keep in mind, those ones were real slaughters, massacres. We know that during the celebrations of a military victory or an emperor, as many as 10,000 exotic animals only were slain inside this building in more or less 100 consecutive days. Just to give you a clue, at some point an emperor decided even to stage a huge hunt in the middle of this place by replicating a jungle by having more than 100 palm trees planted all the way in. Imagine, like a kind of a jungle inside this building, and allowed more than 300 herbivores, including mostly ostriches, boars and all sorts of deer, to roam freely inside. Then even more allowed spectators, like if you think we could have been back then, to step all the way in with the permission of chasing after those animals, capturing them and killing them with their own bare hands. Even an ostrich is not so easy to kill. Well, I've never done that, I will never do. But ostriches may turn really aggressive. They were even allowed, at the end of it, to take home what remained of them as a trophy, as a prize. What do you think was the point of all that? Such a waste, such a squander of so many exotic, expensive animals. Was it just for fun? Was it what we call today political propaganda? Bread and circuses. I don't know if you ever heard of our sentence, meaning that all of these shows were intended to keep people happy and in turn away from the real issues of everyday life. Lack of jobs, lack of food, lack of money. I would dare say, sounds pretty much familiar, doesn't it? At least about Italy I can speak of, but I'm pretty aware other countries got their own problems too. And those animals, as I said, were incredibly exotic. Can you think where a tiger could have been supplied from in Roman times? Like more or less today? India or China. So you can imagine how far-flung those trade routes were. It took 1 year and a half for a big cart like that to reach Rome by ship. I don't know if you've ever been dealing with carts. They don't like so much water. Imagine that big poor cart experiencing, enduring a long journey like that. Most of those animals arrived to Rome already so exhausted they even died before accessing the arena platform above. Imagine of apes, monkeys, zebras from Central Africa, bears and elks from Northern Europe. You should think of a huge, intricate network of trade routes revolving around this massive showing machine. For example, can you guess how much could have been spent for a lion during late Roman times in modern currency? Have a go. Come on, don't be shy. As you notice, I'm just buying time because the other group was a little longer. 50,000. So, let's have an auction. 50,001. 50,002. Who offers more?
£1,000,000.
Whoa, £1,000,000. We're getting wide. How do we know that? Sorry guys, we may want to group up a little bit so we can allow the other group to get inside. How do we know that? During late Roman times, inflation was rampant throughout the empire, even though Romans hadn't got a single clue about what inflation was. Please come closer. Here you can see closer the tiny rooms where the animals, small to medium-sized ones, were kept locked in their own cages, and at some point you should imagine they were, how can I say, corralled, thrusted, pushed into the smaller cages belonging to the lifts that would have set up around this pathway and brought up to the arena level. And you can also have a look to one of perhaps of the most intriguing issues about this building, in the twisted mind of an archaeologist like I'm supposed to be. They were the sewer drains. They, are still working today. The building was provided with a really intricate network of sewer drains. And I don't know if you know it, before this building was erected, basically all the area actually was a valley. A valley that was at the very beginning even crossed by a river, a shallow stream actually. When this monster was built by the Flavii family, that channel, that river, was channeled and funneled in one of the sewer drains. And if you noticed also later, you can still see that stream flowing today, okay? But actually these drains are pretty much it would be nice to think of, faith worships battling inside of the underground with all people tuning up again. But once again, that building that is located in the district's Trastevere beyond the Tiber River, highly likely would have works like that. But the point is, of that building, we got today just a few chunks of walls buried beneath the modern Piazza of San Cosimato, so none that is possibly visible today. So, we need just to dream about it and think how it could have gone. And as you can see here, instead, we are exactly on the opposite sides to where we first stepped down. And as you can see, this is in a poor state of condition because of preservation, because all the missing parts of white limestone blocks called travertine actually has been replaced by modern brickwork. We just got a few ancient brick walls like these ones that actually highly likely were kind of buttresses that were built to prop up those white limestone blocks. But actually we are exactly underneath what was supposed to be the main western gate. The one that was used by all the athletes like gladiators and hunters to access the building early in the morning, or used by victorious gladiators to get out of it at the end of a fight. Okay?
As you go up the different levels, the view gets better and better at the bottom. Like you can see it better.
Compared to the stadium.
Okay.
We even chose the Colosseum
Florence so the elevator thing would come up.
Ah.